Santa's coming to town. I've got to say, I've stopped believing in him. I keep sending the letters to Lapland, but nothing happens. I think the whole thing's a crock of shit. Like the Tooth Fairy, the Loch Ness Monster, or cuddly Tories. I mean, how can you possibly visit all the children in the world, including me, all in one night? I think it's a myth. There was no miracle on 34th Street. No.
No! Ho, ho, ho! Are you feeling good, Anto?
No, that's in there.
I'm sorry I don't do inflatable toys. I did ask you that, but I've got you this instead, Phil.
Oh, what? What about me, Santa?
You'll get fuck all!
I think I've seen him somewhere before, you know. Charming, isn't it? I'm puzzled by why so many of the men these days have shaven heads. I imagine that some of them are... I know there are. I imagine that some of them are perhaps prematurely bald and think they might just as well remove what little hair remains. Whatever the reason, to me it makes them look threatening and aggressive. Maybe that's their intention. They also seem to have the habit of thrusting their heads backwards and forwards, like foraging chickens, or someone about to deliver a Glasgow kiss. I noticed too, they're almost invariably sun readers. I'll eat now. In the days when the shaven head was a rarity, an old guitarist friend of mine, Dougo, had his head shaved to raise money for charity, and he collected a sizable sum from those who never would have dreamt of such a drastic and noble gesture. One evening his infant son was in the bath. Dougo's wife asked him to look after him while she prepared dinner. Dougo spotted a new toy floating in the bath. It was a little plastic monkey on a stick. At the base of the stick was a suction cap. Wait for it. Dougo stuck it to the side of the bath and tweaked the stick. The monkey ascended the stick and then juddered back to the base, its mouth rapidly opening and closing like a ventriloquist dummy. His son was delighted, and encouraged by this success, Dougo with some difficulty removed the stick from the side of the bath and stuck it to his shaven head. Every time he shook his head, the monkey went through its routine, much to the amusement of his son. Bath time over, Dougo attempted to remove the toy from his head. He couldn't. No amount of tugging by him and his wife, or the application of washing up liquid and cooking oil would budge it. When they arrived at the casualty department, it was fairly crowded. Dougo did his best to maintain some dignity as he sat with his wife and son, but every time he turned his head, the monkey would go up and down the stick with a mocking clacking of its jaws, much to the amusement of those waiting to be seen. To compound his embarrassment, the duty doctor, hardly able to stifle his mirth, paid some of his colleagues to witness the spectacle. Their merriment was shared by a gaggle of giggling nurses who'd been similarly alerted. For them it made an amusing change from children with saucepans on their heads and vomiting drunks. Eventually the suction cap was incised with a scalpel, and Dougo was parted from the monkey. He was left with a purple lump on his bald head. It was roughly the size of a duck egg, and took some weeks to shrink. During this time, old ladies on buses offered him their seats. Enemies were conciliatory, and policemen halted the traffic to let him cross the road. They all presumably thought that with no hair and an outside purple lump on his head, he was undergoing chemotherapy for a brain tumour. While I'm at it, I've got another Dougo story that he recently told me. In the early hours of the morning, he was walking back to his hotel after playing at a club in Hamburg in the 1960s. Turning a corner, he saw a man attacking a woman. She was on the ground and the man was ripping at her clothes and punching her. Now, Dougo has a reputation of being something of a ladies' man, and here was a damsel in distress, an outrage being committed against nobility and courtly love. In the twinkling of an eye, he was transformed from a humble guitarist into a Lancelot or an Ivanhoe. He leapt on the man's back, pulling off the woman. Rather than looking grateful or relieved, the woman looked puzzled. But Dougo aimed a few blows at the man, who seemed to offer no resistance. It was like Charlie Chaplin fighting the world. Two other men then appeared and pinioned Dougo's arms. He didn't give up easily and struggled and kicked. Now the woman and her attacker began laughing, and Dougo thought for a moment he'd been set up and was about to be robbed. He struggled some more, and then he and the two men fell to the ground in a heap of tangled arms and legs. Now everyone but Dougo was laughing, and before he could lash out any further, they congratulated him for his brave intervention, but he explained they were in fact trying to shoot a scene from a film. Exits the go-ahead. So